Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the inaugural Collider Flash Recap Show, coming to you from right here, Collider Video. My name is John Campea. I'm going to be one of your hosts tonight, talking about all things Flash. Now, obviously, the Flash doesn't start until next week, but this is our preseason special. We're going to talk a bit about Season 1, what we liked about it, some of the things we're going to be expecting in Season 2, some things we think maybe they need to improve upon from Season 1, whole lot of stuff. Plus, we're going to be taking some of your Twitter questions, but we're going to get to that just a little bit later. I'm going to let the people at the table here introduce themselves. I'm going to start over here on my left.
David Griffin here. You might know me from my fabulous Mark Ellis impressions when I'm guest host on Movie Talk here at Collider. So just happy to be here to talk about some Flash this year.
Sitting over here on my immediate right.
Hi, I'm John Rocha. You might have seen me on Movie Fights recently on Screen Junkies. I've been on hosted Far, Far Away and the Top 10 Show on the Schmoes Know YouTube podcast network.
Whenever somebody says you might have seen me on, I just think of Troy McClure from The Simpsons.
You might know me
Troy
from
McClure. And sitting over there on the end on the far right.
Hi, I'm Quinn Marie. You might have seen me on the Empire Recap Show, because that's what I did last for Collider.
And of course, once again, I'm just John. So we are here to talk about Flash. One of the most incredible first seasons for now. Sometimes some of the all-time great shows, it takes a season or so to find their legs. No pun intended. To find their legs. But Flash, for me, was like right out of the gate. And then it just got better and better and better with every episode. So let's start things off by going around the table. David, we'll start with you. Just briefly, what is it about Flash Season 1 that made you love the show so much?
Maybe love the show because the show was able to be a show about the Flash. I think this last season of Arrow, which maybe was the weakest of the 3 seasons so far, struggled because it was trying to be Batman. Whereas the Flash was just being the Flash in all the right ways. It was probably the most comic booky TV show that we have. Maybe Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is up there as well, but I mean, it was allowed to be what it was. It was joyful, it was bright, it was colorful. It was all those great things we love about reading comic books. And you just felt all of that with the characters and the villains, maybe the best rogues gallery we have in any of the superhero shows out right now. So I thought the Flash just was the Flash, and that's why it was good. It sounds silly to say that it was the Flash. That's the title, but it really was the Flash. I felt like I was reading the comic book while I was watching the show.
Yeah, I remember for me, I was really into Arrow when they first mentioned that they were going to be doing a Flash TV series. I'll admit it right up front. I said, that's a stupid idea. Flash will not work on television. This is just not going to work. You know, you got something really good going with Arrow right now. Have Flash as an occasional character, not going to work. Totally works. And you know, it's for me, it's all the things you mentioned, but it's also a way that they blend so many different elements. This is such an entertaining show. Yeah. It's like when they sit down and figure out each new episode, they think, how do we entertain the audience first and foremost? And whether they do that through some great storytelling or through some, some action, or whether they tell through some great humor stuff. Cisco, I'm gonna tell you right now, Cisco and Caitlin, especially when they first showed up on Arrow, I was like, these two gotta go. They gotta go. These guys do not work at all. And then by the end of the season, like Caitlin is still not my favorite character on the show.
Agreed.
But Cisco, I just savor every moment that he's on screen. Yeah. Like he became like one of his best lines. I think it was saved right for one of the final episodes, and it's played by Carlos Valdez. But it was one of the final episodes of the season. And this is just indicative of the one-liners he does through the whole year. They're talking about a singularity, a black hole is about to pop up and swallow up the earth. And Cisco goes, so long and thanks for all the fish. And it's like, not everybody will get that reference, but those of us who do just learn to appreciate Cisco so much. And and that's what Flash did for me that first season. It just surprise after surprise, not storytelling surprises, but the things that I did not think I would like, they made me like. And that was really cool. Anyway, John, you saw season 1.
I did.
What stood out to you?
Well, for me, it all begins with the relationship between his mom and his dad and him. Like, I think that's the anchor of the whole show. Everything else seems to revolve around that and his relationship with Jesse L. Martin as well as his pseudo-father, surrogate father. I think
am I the only one that expects him to break out into
Rent?
6,782 minutes. Whenever I just expect him to break out into song any minute now.
It's Tom, I think is what it is. Yeah. No, I like the fact, that's what really drew me to the show, the relationship with his dad, the fact that they cast John Wesley Shipp as his dad, who is the Flash from the 90s CBS show. You know, that's such an awesome thing. And also just the fact that this is his goal, this is his mission to find out, to stop his mom getting killed or to find out who killed his mom, all of that's like really important to him. So everything else is driven through that. So there's a vulnerability, there's a sweetness, there's a realness that you can connect to no matter where you at in your life, you know, what age you are or whatever. I think that's what's so great about the show. And then the casting they do for all the villains, for all the you know, ancillary characters, and then also for I actually agree with you. Cisco came around as an actor through the show. You know, I thought Caitlin. I like Danielle Pennebaker. I like her. I like the sweetness she brings and the innocence that she brings in the moments, especially when she had the situation with Firestorm. I thought that was great too. So they create these characters and then they give them really fully realized lives for us to connect to and follow week to week. And I think that's one of the biggest strengths about the show and what makes it so unique on TV.
You know when Caitlin started to turn around for me? When she stopped irritating me and I started to appreciate her, was that one episode where her and Barry actually go out on a date.
Oh yeah.
And
Very
she
sweet. And she gets drunk.
And then she gets totally drunk.
Go back to her apartment.
And now help me out. But there was a line she goes, like something like, "Did you see my boob?" or something like that. And then she's like, "It's okay. You've been very sweet. You deserve it." Or like some stupid line like that.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, suddenly I saw her in a different light. It really turned around for me. So yeah, that all worked for me. Quinn, what about you? What is it from season 1 that really stood out to you that makes you a fan of the show?
Well, I think I'm coming from a different perspective. I don't know if you guys are all like comic book people. I'm not a comic book person. I feel like I'm the uncool one because I don't read comic books, which is kind of strange. But it's so entertaining, and having not like had a previous. I don't have any previous knowledge of the Flash because I don't read the comic books.
I actually envy you a little bit that you can go into it with such a clean slate.
Well, that's what I think is cool about the show too, because I don't know anything. I'm just coming in as a fan of the show.
Right.
I like the show. It's entertaining. I love the storyline. I love the casting. I love Grant Gustin. I think he's such a good Barry Allen. I don't know who else has played. You know, I don't know what I'm supposed to be looking for, but I love Grant Gustin as Barry Allen. I love him. So I just as an avid television watcher, I love the show. Like, I think it's so entertaining. I love the story. I love the action. So that's why I like it. That's why I like season 1.
It's funny you mentioned the love for Grant Gustin. I think all of us do.
Yeah.
And Grant was one of the reasons at first I thought this ain't gonna work. I mean, you want a little nerdiness, but I just thought, nah, too young, too nerdy, too this, too that.
Skinny,
dead wrong.
Oh, no.
Dead wrong.
Yeah.
He came to embody all the things of Barry Allen that make you want to watch him, you know, and he embodied it perfectly. And you just believe each and every one, like really ultimately the Flash isn't about his powers. It's about each individual relationship he has with all the characters in the show, whether it's with Joe or his dad or Iris or Dr. Wells or Cisco, you know, all these relationships that line up. And he's found a way to create such a unique dynamic with each and every one of those relationships. None of those relationships are the same. And he has just totally sold me on it. I mean, it's much like Stephen Amell did for me in the first season of Arrow. It's like he is the one that really made me buy into the show. Stephen Amell did with the first season of Arrow. And Grant is probably the reason that I got hooked right away in The Flash, which was really cool. Well, let's continue to talk about season 1 here. Let's talk a little bit about the highlights of season 1. And David, we're going to start with you. Let's talk about some of those big moments to you that really stood out to you and has stuck with you since the season ended and now all this long, it seems like forever off season. What are some of the big moments for you in that first season?
For me, the big moments, going back again to relationships, a lot of that with the two dads.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a show you don't see it too often where a guy has two dads, but like he has great relationships with both of his dads.
Yeah.
You know, with Joe, you know, John Wesley Shipp is his biological father in prison. I thought that's just always, those are some of the most emotional moments throughout the whole season when, you know, he would sit down with Joe, who I always call like the Flash's Diggle. You know, always have the nice, you know, one-on-one talking. His biological dad is like Diggle too, because he's always kind of grounds him. You know, in the end when he was talking about, you know, don't save your mom, you know, basically saying like, you know, let everything play out like it's supposed to play out, and just kind of convince him of that. He has all these great advisors, and it humanizes him. Yeah, and it humanizes the character more than I think. I just love this show more, I think, than all the other superhero shows, and it doesn't go dark. It sometimes does, but it always brings it back with a moment of levity, with a moment of comedy from Cisco or somebody. So the relationship with his two dads stuck with me. I thought that was just very well done.
And you bring up something too about the darkness. I always love how they will use Arrow as a story point to come in to remind us of the uniqueness of Barry.
Right.
You know, when you forget that Barry isn't just another hero, and if you ever start to think it is, they bring in Stephen Amell as Arrow to play off him to realize, oh no, here's the one side, and Barry is the other. And I really like the way they've done that. A couple of things that really stood out to me this season, and one of the things I cannot wait for them to go into more in season 2 is Grodd.
Oh yeah.
Oh, they teased him and then when he finally came about, it's like, because you think, I remember thinking too, like when they first started teasing him, I was like, can you do this justice on a TV budget?
Right.
That's challenging because, and you know, it would have looked better if it was in a feature film with a $170 million budget or whatever. I thought they pulled it off great. And with him getting even more and more and more intelligent, and you know he's going to be back, and you know they're going to do more with that. And it's just dynamite. Another big moment for me was, I mean, what else? Mark Hamill coming back to play the trickster.
Oh yeah.
I mean, such an out of place episode for it was totally out of place. That as an episode, it was out of place for the rest of the series. Doesn't matter. It was so great seeing him back as the trickster, and you know, with his son, and then of course doing his "I am your father" line, which had everybody talking about it. That was great to see. I really liked, I keep mispronouncing her name, Melise Zhao?
Yes.
Is her name, who
Linda.
played Linda, the first girlfriend, who is, okay, for a nerdy little science guy, man, he scores some hot dates. He's
OTV.
She was OTV. That's giving me unrealistic expectations for my life. It was so great. And I gotta see, I remember because I was watching that one episode with some friends, and they were all so happy that Barry was finally getting some. That one went him in the. But I thought she was a great character, and I've just been told by somebody who actually knows her a bit that it looks like she's going to be making an appearance in season 2 as well.
Nice.
That's awesome.
I, for one, am really happy about. So, look, obviously, finding out who Wells really is. I mean, that was a big moment in it as well. I mean, lots of great moments throughout this whole season, but those somewhat stand out to me. John, what about you? What were some of the big highlight moments for you?
You guys have covered a lot of them, so I will jump in and just say that moment when he finally has that conversation with his mom as she's dying.
Oh,
like that's such a powerful moment to finally come to that place that we've been building to through the whole season, and have that final goodbye with her that was so powerful and real. And that's where Grant gets you, because Grant is a good actor.
He's a good crier.
Yes.
He can
yeah.
cry.
When she's looking down his mom, tears are dripping off his nose, and it's like,
that's not that stuff they put in the eyes. That's real, you know, and you can feel that when it's happening, you know. Obviously, the Gorilla Grodd stuff was great. I thought the stuff with, I forget the gentleman, the actor from Shawshank Redemption. I thought his stuff as the general was a good stuff.
Yeah. Clancy Brown.
Yes.
Yeah,
Clancy Brown.
The
Yeah.
Kurgan from Highlander. That's what I always think of him as, the Kurgan.
All of that as it progressed was great. But for me, the Harrison Wells stuff, so brilliant. When we got his backstory finally, we've been waiting to find out who this guy is. It's the Reverse Flash. How can it be when Eddie Thawne is right there? Like, wait, isn't Eobard Thawne? You're just like, you're lost in all of that. And then when they give you the backstory of how he caused the accident and took the place of this scientist, it's just like, it's so powerful. And there's so much depth going on that they're creating with the writing and with the pacing throughout the whole series that I think was shown in that episode as well.
You know, I'm so glad you brought up Dr. Wells again, because I think one of the things, like I said, Grant's the one that got me hooked into the show.
Right.
I feel very safe in saying this. I don't think The Flash season 1 works nearly as well as it worked without Tom Cavanaugh.
Oh, yeah.
Tom Cavanaugh as Dr. Wells, Eobard Thawne, so good.
Yep.
So good. Like, it's to the point that, like, by episode 6, 7, 8, you're like, I just give up trying to figure out, is he good? Is he bad? Because, you know, one episode he's stabbing a guy in the heart. The next episode he's like really saving people and helping Barry. And they did that so well. But that performance of Tom Cavanaugh made it work. And then that dynamic between him and Barry, just fantastic. One of the absolute major pillars, I think, of season 1 was Tom Cavanaugh. So kudos to him. Anyway, Quinn, some of the highlight moments for you of season 1.
I would say, and just to add on to what you're saying, I would say more like 3 dads, because if you add in Dr. Wells.
All right.
Oh yeah,
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 true.
that's
Very,
true.
yeah.
Yeah.
I like the dynamic.
And Wells and Cisco. Yeah, it's a lot of father-son dynamics going on.
Even in the season finale, to your point, like Kavanaugh is like, I love you. You have no idea how proud I am of bringing that idea of a third father. Very good observation. Yeah.
I would say highlight for me would be the episode where Wells kills Cisco. That's a super pivotal episode. That's when you're like, okay. And then they introduce like the time stuff. I'm just like, that's when I was like, ooh, something's gonna happen. I was watching. I'm about to go down.
What? I'm just getting into this guy. And I'm like, are you kidding me?
Like that was a big one.
That was one of those moments I literally screamed out loud in my living room. And that shows don't make me do that. And when he stabs Cisco, I just like, no, you know, because I'm a Latino and there's so many rare Latinos on television. I was like, don't kill him all.
Kill the white dude.
Yeah. Well, it was cool. And then they went, ahead in a few episodes later when they were like reminiscing about that. And then Wells is like, oh, I don't regret killing you. I'm sure I had a perfectly good reason for doing that. I was like,
that was such a smooth line. Oh, no, it's not that. I'm sure I had but in that same episode where he kills Cisco was another big pivotal moment that made me go, when he's standing by the beach with Iris. So Barry's standing with Iris, and then all the crap is going down. He's and he just looks at her like, I didn't want you to find out this way. She's like, what? Vroom! I was like, that was such a great moment. And then they effed it. They totally effed it with that cop-out, changing the timeline thing. I was really happy.
You had to know that they weren't going to just stick with that storyline. That's too good.
I didn't totally see it coming. And the one thing that made me not be totally pissed off about it was that, okay, wait, this means Cisco's alive, right? This means, okay, then I can live with this. But I was, that great moment was like, I didn't want you to find out this way. And then she spills her feelings and all this. Just like, that was such a great pivotal moment. And they stuck it right up there with the time jump thing. But anyway, so that was that. So let's talk about some of the unsung cast, I think, of season one, because any great show, good shows will have good leads, but great shows have great ensembles. And when you look across the scope of this show, like we already talked a little bit about Carlos Valdez, who plays Cisco. Such a surprise to me because like I said, I was just plain old annoyed with him when the show began about the character, and he made me love that character. We talked about Tom Cavanaugh. You talked about Jesse L. Martin as Joe. Rick Cossett, who plays Eddie.
Oh yeah.
Obviously a major character. We found he's the love interest for Iris throughout the whole thing. Now, some people have been asking, will he be back for season 2? To the best of my knowledge, he is not returning for season 2. He is now going to be a new series regular on that brand new show Quantico on another network. So, but who knows? We've seen stranger things happen. We've seen a lot of strange things happen. Wentworth Miller.
Oh, yeah.
As Captain Cold. Again, this is the pattern with Flash for me. It starts off with me going, this is stupid. I love Wentworth Miller, but the way he talked and just all that, it's like, wait, why is he wearing a parka? It's 89 degrees outside, and he has no powers. It's just he happened to steal that one cool gun. Nothing. But by the end of this season, every episode I found myself hoping he would be on it. He's almost like a villainous Batman in a way. Like you just always get the feeling that he's smarter than everybody else in the room. And even though he has no powers, he's going to be one step ahead of you. And even Flash recognizes that this guy is a major foil for me. So there was a great rogue. I think you were pointing out the rogues gallery throughout the season was great, culminating that one great thing where they were trying to ship all the villains to the island that Oliver was on. And, they've done such a great job of balancing the show being both a procedural and a serial at the same time. And very few shows can pull that off the right way. But anyway, are there any other the smaller characters from season 1 that kind of stood out to you? Maybe they weren't there long, but they shine pretty bright when they were. Well,
I mean, we were. You already mentioned Eddie again, who I thought in the very beginning just wasn't impressed with him, but then by the end, especially that conversation he had with Professor Stein. When he was talking about, you being like kind of like the wild card and like how important you are and how vital you are, because he's always been seen as a throwaway character. And Stein's telling him like, no, you're vital, you're important to this. And then of course at the end when he sacrifices himself, which I think is what's maybe we'll talk about this later, going to play into season 2. And I think there's like signs for Flash Day, and I think Barry's feeling a little bit guilty because it was actually Eddie that saved the day and not him. So I mean, he became the most important character on the show. And I don't think any of us saw it coming. I thought he was just a kind of a useless character up up until then, he impressed me.
He was just getting in the way of the love interest.
Exactly.
And in that last, I remember and I should have known better. I should have known better. But when he's about to kill the Flash, when the Reverse Flash is about to kill the Flash, and then you hear the gunshot, that, oh God, they did the cheesy thing where Eddie's the hero. He pulled out the gun and shot the Reverse Flash. And then they reveal, no, he shot himself
That was a good
to
twist.
stop him. And
Agreed.
I'm like, well
Slow
done.
clap.
Well done. Anyway, what about you, John? What are some of the smaller characters who maybe had moments that stood out to you?
Well, I'm always a big Victor Garber fan, so it was
Oh,
such a
isn't he
joy
great?
to see him as part of Firestorm. Because
Yeah.
Firestorm was one of my secretly favorite characters in the DC universe. So to see him come to life in the show was so great, and to see those two actors play him at such different personalities when they first go to the backstory and how they're struggling the whole time, it was so great to see that. And Garber is, and I think that's what's great about this show. They mix in these veteran actors that really give you the weight that you need, and especially Tom Cavanaugh. I mean, this whole show doesn't work without him. It doesn't. You need his veteran actor. You need him as a very strong, powerful force in the show to keep it grounded. And I think when you do with Garber, same thing. This character that can fly off at any moment, go crazy, shoot fire out of its head, out of its hands. You need someone who's at least the brains to calm the teenage desire down. And I think Garber did a great job with that. So I just loved him, and I do have a thing for Wentworth Miller and Dominic Purcell, the Prison Break
Great
thing
seeing them
coming back
together again.
Yeah, and they play so well off each other because Wentworth allows Dominic to be even more of a ham than Wentworth is, so it just works for them.
And I've been a fan of him ever since he was in Alias as the dad.
That's
in
right.
Alias. Now seeing him come back here was great. What about you, Quinn? Some of the minor characters that maybe stood out to you this season or had great moments for you.
I would say we already talked about, but I liked Melise Zhao. I liked her chemistry with Barry. As I said before, this might be an unpopular opinion, but I don't love the chemistry between Barry and Iris.
That will be our segue. That would be that is a perfect. We're going to start with you on this.
Okay.
This will be our great segue to look. No show is perfect. There are always things that can be done better that we can look at. Because you're not true fans if you just stick your head in the sand and just say everything is perfect. There are some things that can be improved upon. So let's move on to the next segment of the show here, talking about some of the things we'd like to see improved upon, maybe fine tuned a little bit, moving us into the next season. So Quinn, this seems like a good opportunity to start with you.
All right, awesome. I'll elaborate on that. That's another reason why I don't want Eddie to be dead, because I like Eddie and Iris together.
Yeah.
I don't like Barry and Iris together. I don't know why. I feel like I need to, but it's just not there for me. I like Iris as a character. She's not my favorite. But I like them separately, but I don't like them together, and I want to see Barry with different love interests.
That would be interesting. Which is
that.
where Linda could come in and be handy to us.
I hope that she comes back, and I hope she has a little bit more of a more dominant role.
Yeah. What about you, John? What are some things that you think maybe they could tune up a little bit for second season?
Honestly, the Iris thing is perfect. I mean, it really is. But I think what they did with her is I think they messed up her character. I think they spent a lot of time with everyone else's character, and they gave her just this kind of like she was basically cheating on Eddie the whole time because she had a thing for the Flash, and she was like, well, is she really committed, not committed? And then the second he starts not being committed, she all of a sudden wants to be totally committed, and they just messed with her. And then near the end, the last few episodes, I think they gave that actress so much more to do, so much more to play, and I think it salvaged the season for both her and Eddie. Like their characters came around as actors, and also as characters came around near by the end of the season, so I enjoyed that. The Speed Force. That is for me the thing that I am looking forward to the most in season 2.
They only touched on it.
Yeah, that's
in
what I'm
season
saying.
1,
Just a little bit, and you're not sure of how it works, which is perfect. And it's fascinating. You must be so into it because it's a new mythology for you.
Exactly.
You must be seeing this. For those of us who read the comic books, we're like, there's so many things I can do here.
Yeah.
And you're just like, oh wow, where do we go with this?
I'm I'm just curious. Everybody says like, oh, they're bringing back so and so's doing this, not like last time, and I'm like, I think it all is great. Like I don't really know. I just know that it's entertaining and I like it.
And I like that Eddie got sucked into it. So to me, I want Eddie. I want Eddie to come back.
Right, but remember, he was already dead before he got sucked into
but we know comics soon.
That's,
was,
no, this
so
is
was
true.
we have the
Cisco
big
was
portal
dead
now,
at a point in
Cisco
time as
died
well.
in
So
one
just
timeline.
saying.
Yeah.
He's back.
For me, the one thing I think I would like to see them tune up a little bit is that I found that the show had a little bit of a habit from time to time of taking obvious problems and just ignoring them. And here's a couple places where that comes into play. So Iris, right? And this is a different kind of rub on Iris. Iris is, I believe, the show starts with her being a coffee shop waitress, basically.
Oh, right, yes.
Yeah. But she writes a couple of blog posts about The Flash. I want to be a journalist. And she goes and lands this journalist job at a local paper. And she's working there for 5 minutes and then complaining about no one's taking me seriously. I don't know. Maybe the fact that you never went to school. How about that? How about that as an issue, Iris? But they want the editor-in-chief to take her seriously. It's like, okay, whatever. But it's like little things like that. It's like this whole big problem that's just ignore it. Don't pay attention to that. That also kind of came into play a little bit for me to go to the most recent example in the season finale, when it's like Barry's trying to contemplate whether he should go back and save his mom, right? Nobody once, everybody's talking about, oh, Barry, your life will be different. Nobody once mentions, hey, you could effing kill me if you go and do that. Like everybody, what's going to his life be like? You just had Iris and Eddie get back together. No one stopped and say, hey, if he goes back and saves mom, we may never end up together. Oh, wait a minute, you might create a black hole that destroys the world? No, Barry, follow your heart. Do what you think. You just think about yourself for a second. It's like, are we just ignoring this giant problem here? And they just go, let's not even just talk about that and have Barry go do it. There have been maybe a dozen or so instances of that throughout season 1 that I felt like there would be a big, massive elephant in the room and they would just throw a blanket over it and say, nothing to see here, and move on. I would like to see them tighten up that a little bit, because that was a habit in season 1 I'd like to see them correct. What about you? What are some of the things you think they need to fine tune?
A few things. I'm a little bit worried about them using the whole timeline as a crutch.
Yeah.
Like every time they run into a writing, situation, be like, let's do a little time thing. We'll just change everything, So I don't want them to use it as a crutch. I hope they use that like they did in season 1. Make it interesting, make it unexpected, like the scene with Iris, like on the water, before everything went haywire. Yeah. Also, I watch a lot of CW shows. I like Vampire Diaries. I like 100. I like Supernatural. Yes. I'm just
my favorite show on TV right now.
I watch Rain. I'm just a little bit tired of the love triangles. CW loves love triangle, not for Supernatural, but a lot of the shows have love triangles.
I think you're just upset that you've never been in a love.
That's true. That's
true. Is that the real issue here, David?
Yeah, I've never had 2 girls fighting over me, but still, it's just it gets a little old after a while. A little tired of love triangle. Maybe I'm jealous. This probably it gets old. Maybe there's some personal issues I got to work out.
Yeah, maybe. Clearly not had 2 girls fighting over me, because that never gets old.
Yeah, but I just want to see, can somebody just pick some girl and then be in love and then just be with that girl?
Well, we're supposed to be with Iris.
We're
supposed to be with Iris.
Yeah.
Right? So.
I mean, let's just make it happen.
See, like
that's
nice.
Too boring. That's not good TV. That's not good television.
It's definitely not good TV.
It's not good television.
As soon as you're saying, I was like, that doesn't sound fun. That doesn't sound fun at all. I would not watch that.
Boring.
Yeah.
It's funny. It's you just mentioned CW, and it's like. Something happened over there where I started to appreciate the program. Now, Supernatural, like I said, it has been my favorite show on television for a long time. Yeah. But then you get Arrow, and then you get Flash, and I even like I didn't like Vampire Diaries, but they did a spinoff.
Originals.
The originals.
Yeah.
I watched the first season
awesome.
original. I'm like, damn, this is actually pretty good too. To the point where I think Elijah became like one of my favorite characters on television.
Yep. The 100 is one of my favorite shows. I think it has the best female characters of any of their shows. I think they're awesome.
Of any of the CW shows.
The CW shows. Okay. Yeah, sorry, not the CW shows.
Of all the other shows.
All the shows.
Screw Game of Thrones.
Yeah. Who's on that show? Yeah.
All right, folks. Well, listen, we're going to take a few. I hopped on social media and I asked you guys, hey, we're doing our first preseason show. Do you guys have any thoughts or questions you want us to talk about here on the show? And here's how you can get your question to us. By the way, you can tweet these questions or thoughts anytime, because we're going to be monitoring Twitter, searching for the hashtag #ColliderFlash. If you want a message to get to us, put out a tweet. Make sure you include the hashtag #ColliderFlash, and we'll see it, and we might even pick some out, maybe yours, to put on our show. So we did pick out, I think, 4 questions tonight that we're going to look at. So, Dennis, let's bring up the first one here. And this first question comes to us from Topaz, who writes, what is the biggest thing you're looking forward to for season 2? Hashtag #ColliderFlash. Thanks a lot, Topaz. A couple things you mentioned that you brought up already is Speed Force.
Yeah.
I want to see how much they're going to get into Speed Force. Like, is Barry's powers really? I mean, let's put the comic book aside. Comic books, the comic books. The TV show is the TV show. Where is Barry's power coming from? Was it just the freak accident of that caused everything to happen, or did it just become a doorway for him to tap into the Speed Force? Right. Now we're going to learn more about that. So that is probably something that I'm looking for. I'm becoming a broken record. I'm really looking forward to see what they're doing with Cisco now. Ever since they revealed that he's got a little bit of power, like he might have a power, be interested to see where they go with that. So that's what I'm looking forward to. John, what about you?
The Jay Garrick stuff. I can't. As soon as that helmet flew in, I just went.
That's my cue to leave, he says.
Yeah, as soon as Jay Garrick showed up or this helmet showed up, I went insane because it means that all the other Flashes, if you've read the comic books, all the other Flashes are now in play. All the other versions. Wally West is still in play. You've got all the different versions, like even from Earth 2, even from like, other timelines of like 25, of the year 2533. All those Flashes are in play. And I think that's something that I'm so looking forward to see how they make that work and how they make Jay Garrick, who is coming as an actual character, how they make him work in the show and what he's going to do on the show. So that to me is, I just can't wait for that.
Yeah, so we got Jay Garrick coming. He's going to be played by actor Teddy Sears. We have Wally West coming. Yeah. And if you're a fan of the Divergent movies, you'll recognize him. And I've never heard his name said before. I've just read it a bunch of times. Keenan Lonsdale, I believe is the actor's name. He's going to be playing Wally West. So we do got a lot of those guys coming too. Anyway, Quinn, what are you looking forward to the most in season 2?
I'm wondering, who's this Zoom person I keep hearing about? I feel like
Zoom is coming.
Zoom is coming.
Yeah.
Zoom.
Can we elaborate on this? Can somebody enlighten me on this Zoom issue?
Sure. I mean, how much time do we have?
30-second version.
He's basically an even more powerful Reverse Flash. He's been trying to get Flash for such a long time. You just chime in here. Go ahead and help me out here.
No, you're doing well.
Yeah, and he's even more violent. He's even more vicious. He's even more angry at Barry or at any of the Flashes. He wants to destroy the Flash from existence. And so it's interesting that he's doing it. It's going to be a voice, right? They haven't said it's going to be an actor. It's going to be an actor doing the voice, but you don't see actual character. So it'll be interesting how and he's Professor Zoom, which implies some things. So that's going to be...
He's the Moriarty of the universe, basically, in many ways, too.
Yeah. There you go.
What are some things you're looking forward to?
Alternate timeline. Because we had that great scene where he was running and he could see all the different images. Yeah. We saw Caitlin as, Killer Frost. So is that really going to happen? Is that just going to be a one-off thing where maybe we see this alternate timeline and that's who she is and we don't see her ever again? Right. We saw the Flash Museum, which that's like from Justice League, the animated series, and of course the comics. I'm looking forward to seeing alternate timelines because there's a portal, so anything can come down and they're going to have all these new, villains and rogues and just all these cool characters. So we don't know what's going to happen. That's the thing. It's like
Flashpoints in play.
Flashpoints in play.
Flashpoints in play.
Yeah.
Because remember when
possibilities.
Remember when he goes back and saves tries to save his mom. You had the one Flash being like, don't do that. So maybe that Flash that was there, maybe he did save it. So maybe,
I'm so glad you brought that up. I can't believe I forgot about that. I want to make sure they better not just leave that hanging out there with him going to save his mom and he sees himself look at himself and go, they better address that. I was like, why did he know that was the right thing to do? They better not just leave that hanging there. That would be like a huge deal to me if they don't address that.
Put a towel over it. Like,
throw the towel. Don't worry about it.
Actually, I have a question about that really quickly. I'm sorry. With all the different timelines and, I've watched some things online trying to figure it out. How are they going to make that clear to viewers who aren't familiar on TV?
The $1 million question.
Like,
they can't overdo it.
No, I'll be honest with you. I'm a little bit concerned about it.
I feel a little concerned as well.
Like, I don't like it. One of the things that kind of turns me off comics themselves sometimes when they get into too much into alternate timelines and Earth 1, Earth 7, Earth 44B, really? Come on. So how they handle that, I think, is going to be probably the biggest issue about whether season 2 is a success or not, is how well do they handle those questions? Because that's the perfect question that I think a lot of fans are going to be asking. Even people who know the comic books.
Well, that's the thing. It's like, you shouldn't get lost just because you haven't read the comic books. Like, you should be able to watch that show on its own, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Exactly.
Which is what they did so great with season 1.
Exactly.
All right, what's the next question here? The next question on Twitter comes to us from Ethan Q, who writes, do you think there are too many speedsters in the show right now with the introduction of Jay Garrick and Wally West, and of course Zoom, hashtag Collider Flash? It's funny. We were talking on Movie Talk a couple weeks ago. Somebody brought up the issue that, I'm kind of getting tired that in all these comic book superhero movies that the villains are usually just the polar opposites of things. Like you had Iron Man, you had Ironmonger. Right. You have, so you get these heroes and they have guys who are kind of like their polar equals. And that makes sense to a point. I, right now, do not have any problem with the fact that we have Flash and a literal Reverse Flash.
Yeah.
Zoom is another Reverse Flash. Right. Now we're gonna have Wally. Now we're gonna have Jay. I don't know. We're gonna have to see how well they play it out. I mean, I think there is a risk that's gonna get so like, is everybody just speedsters? It's a universe of speedsters now. Or maybe not, or maybe they'll find a way to tell that story in such a way like they did with season 1 to make it compelling and engaging and all that kind of stuff. And it won't even be an afterthought. But I'd be lying to you, man, if I didn't tell you. It is in the back of my head a little bit. I wonder about that. David, what about you?
It's not so much so many speedsters, but that everybody needs to be special in some way. You know, I'm thinking of a show, True Blood on HBO. After a while, everybody had to become supernatural in some aspect, and it can be interesting, but again, like the time thing, it can also be a crutch. So
I think you're just sore that you've never been supernatural.
Love triangle supernatural, and I'm kind of ordinary, so I'm all for the ordinary guy. I want to see the ordinary, man or woman doing their thing, just being a regular person, no superpowers.
What about you, John? Does this pose a problem to you?
Well, I think I've trusted them so far with everything they've done, so I'm not necessarily worried about it. I'm more excited. And maybe once the excitement dies down, I'll get worried, But for right now, I think it's a fun exploration of the possibilities. You open up more windows because Jay is going to be more of a mentor, and it's going to be weird when they bring in Wally. I mean, it's going to be weird to see it when they bring in Wally, if Barry is going to be Wally's mentor, right? How they're going to play that out.
Yeah.
So it allows for more of him growing up, as an adult, him becoming an adult. I think that's what's fascinating about the show too, is this undercurrent of Barry growing up, coming into his adulthood, and this could make it happen at a so to speak quicker pace.
Yeah, but I agree with you. It's like, while I have a little bit of apprehension, it's more excitement because like when you're watching that season finale, when that helmet came through the portal, my first thought wasn't, oh no, are they going to become too popular with speedsters? My thought was, oh shit, it's Jay Garrick. Like that was my first thought, right? So yeah, but what about you, Quinn? Like as someone who hasn't followed comic books, do you worry at all? Or is it really not a big deal that we're going to get a lot of speedy characters?
No, I'm excited. And to kind of like go off of what you were saying, the first thing I thought was Vampire Diaries, because they have vampires, they have werewolves, they have witches, and they kind of make it work. I'm a big fan of the show, so I feel like they have a bunch of supernatural people, and they seem to make it work. And also Cisco and Caitlin, like, are they going to?
Well,
there won't be speedsters.
I mean, but they're going to have like
powers.
Yeah, they're going to have powers as well in the second season. Are we thinking? Are they going to hold off on that? So I'm just excited. I want to see what everybody can do.
All right, let's go on to the third question today. The third question coming in from Twitter is from Michael Casper, who writes, is there anything about the upcoming season that has you nervous? Well, I mean, aside from, like I said, I'm more excited for all these speedsters coming, but yeah, a little bit nervous about that. What do they do with Iris in season 2? Yeah. That's got me. Look, I'm not pessimistic about it, but if you're going to ask me what part would make me a little bit nervous, I'm a little bit nervous that they're just going to jump, hey, so Eddie's dead. Do you want to hook up? Yeah. Like, I hope they don't, like, I hope they take their time with that. I hope they just don't dive headlong into the romance aspect of that. So I'm a little bit nervous about that. John, what about you? Anything making you nervous?
I would say, I think for me, it's going to be interesting to see if they turn Caitlin evil. That's what makes me nervous, because Caitlin's supposed to be Killer Frost. Which
is that an evil character?
Yes, she's supposed to be a villain. And the fact that they showed the glimpse of her in the season finale, I was like I immediately got, so I want to see, I'm nervous that they're going to do that. And because I really like her as a good person. And if they make her transition into evil believable, okay, I'm cool. But like, she had that moment with Firestorm. Like, there was the moment to turn evil if she wanted to, when she found out that it was Wells who did all this stuff and created everything. She could have like been crazy, just gone off balance and been like, no, I want vengeance on everybody who was created off that accelerator breaking up. So to me, that's what I'm nervous about, is what they're going to do with Caitlin. And if they're going to turn her into Killer Frost.
Does it make me a bad person to think that would make her even more interesting? To see if she went a little psycho? I think it'd make her kind of. I think that'd make her kind of interesting. What about you, David?
Echoing, Quinn Marie said this, and John, about Iris, because she, again, just seems like a device where the plot, everything just moves around her, but she's not really doing much herself. Sometimes she's a journalist, or she's crying or something, but she's not doing anything or contributing to the group. So I hope I don't know. I mean, we got to see her in the end. She was with the group and in the lab, you know, kind of, she was there, you know, maybe she'll start doing something, you know, I don't know. They need to give her a character something to do. So that's the one person I'm worried about.
Quinn?
The thing that I'm a little bit nervous about is in the finale, they kind of left a lot open.
Yeah.
So I'm nervous that there's going to be too much. Like, we don't know what's happening with Cisco. We don't know what's happening with Iris. We don't know what's happening with Caitlin. What's going on with Barry's dad? What happened when Eddie killed himself? Does that mean like Reverse Flash never happened? So is Barry's mom, did she never die? Like, there's a lot of like, I feel like there's so many
thought about that.
There's so many questions. I feel like and I don't know what order they should answer them in. Like things like that make me a little bit nervous.
We never got the reason why Wells, you know, Reverse Flash Thawne was angry at Barry. He asked the question in the finale, I think, but he never gave him a solid answer about what started their beef. So will we ever get the answer
that's
to
true,
that?
backstory.
He skipped the
He
question.
skipped it, yeah, exactly.
So it doesn't matter.
Right.
So I get, were they buddies at one point and things go south? I mean, a lot, but I hadn't even thought about that by killing himself, erasing Reverse Flash from time, what does that do with Barry's mother? That's a whole nother deck of cards. I haven't thought about that. All right, let's go on. We're running out of time here, so let's go on to the last Twitter question today. And the last question today comes to us from Emo Kid 64. And Emo Kid writes, do you think Eddie Thawne will come back after being sucked into the wormhole, maybe as Zoom? You know what? If it wasn't for the fact that I mentioned that he's been cast in Quantico and he's going to be a regular in that, I might have said yes. Now, that being said, let's not forget that the actor Lawrence Fishburne, affectionately known as Morpheus, he was just in, Morpheus was in Blacked, or not Blacked.
Blackish.
Blackish, not Blacked. Blackish. And he was in Hannibal.
Yeah.
Two different shows at the same time. So now I have heard he's not returning for season 2. And of course, he's got his new regular gig on Quantico. But let's not rule it out entirely. If I had to give a yes or no answer, I'm going to say no. We're not going to see him back. But don't fall over of shock. This, like you mentioned, this is a comic book show. Don't fall over of shock with seeing him. But my guess is going to be we've seen the last of Eddie. What do you think?
I think we might see him as a guest appearance. One episode, Elseworld story. Maybe like Caitlin as Killer Frost. Maybe she won't actually become that character, but like an Elseworld story in a comic book. We'll see her in this alternate reality, or we'll see Eddie in an alternate reality. Just see him just as a one-off, just one episode.
John? Are we going to see him? We're going to see Eddie back?
Listen, I can't answer that question because I want him to come back.
Right.
So my desire is overwhelming my logic, and I'm telling you, I want him to come back because I really grew to love him by the end of the season, and I wanted his act just made me just so connected to that character. So my feeling is I want him to come back. I don't know if he's going to come back. I probably not, but I really want him to come back. That's where I feel.
Well, Quinn, this is where the comic books don't matter. You saw season 1. Do you think we're going to see Eddie back in season 2?
I agree. I want him to come back.
But you just want to come back to take care of Iris and get Iris out of the way.
That's a big portion of it. I'm not going to lie to you. I need him to handle Iris. But I don't know. I didn't read the comic books. Usually, when somebody gets sucked up into a wormhole, it's not like there's a chance that they will be back.
True.
Because we all know somebody that has been sucked into a wormhole.
Right.
And
they usually
they
come
come back.
Yeah.
It happens.
And there's no way Reverse Flash is dead. There's no way.
You know what I think?
I mean, he's a character that has to come back.
I think he's gone.
Right.
And I think I have nothing to base this on, by the way. This is not based on anything but pure speculation. I think Tom Cavanaugh comes back purely as Dr. Wells.
Wow.
I think now because going to what you're talking about, with Reverse Flash now erased from history, Reverse Flash was never there to lay the spikes on the road and kill Dr. Wells and his wife in the first place. So do we see Tom Cavanaugh come back, but just as Dr. Wells?
Without the wheelchair.
Without the wheelchair.
Yeah.
So a lot of questions to be answered. But the most important thing, guys, is not what does this gang of 4 idiots at this table think about Flash. The real question is, what do you think about Flash Season 1? And what do you think we're going to see? And what do you want to see in Flash Season 2? Make sure you jump into the comment section of this video and leave your thoughts. And tweet to us, once again, using the hashtag #ColliderVideo. Now, we are going to be back next week. The hashtag #ColliderFlash. We're going to be back again next week for episode 1 of season 2. We are so stoked for this. Make sure you watch the show, then come on back to Collider Video and watch our recap show. We are so stoked for this season. I cannot believe it. So, hey, listen, guys, I'm just going to go around the table here. David, thanks a lot for joining us. Where can people find you online?
You can find me online at Twitter, at GriffinDE. You can also find me on Think Hero Pro on YouTube. And my writings are on ScreenRant.com for some television reviews.
Sitting here on right, Mr. John Rocha. John, where can people find you online?
On Twitter and Instagram at The Rocha Says. That's ROCHA. And
I love that Twitter handle.
It's my homage to The Rock. What can I say? I'm a big WWE fan. And you can follow me, or you can watch, listen to Far, Far Away and the Top 10 show. And also, what am I doing? What's the other thing I'm doing? I always forget. A new show I'm hosting now called Cast of Characters. That's on Geek Nation, and we interview people who are very big in voiceover animation. Like
That's
we have
awesome.
Phil Lamar tomorrow in the new episode, so it's great stuff.
Awesome.
Quinn Marie, where can people find you online?
You guys are really busy. You can find me on Twitter at Quinn Marie _. My Instagram is Quinn Shitstagram.
And they can also find you on the Empire After Show.
And you can find me on the Empire After Show Wednesdays.
Here on the Collider Network. And you guys can follow me on Facebook or on Twitter, simply at John Campea. Monday through Friday, follow me on Collider Movie Talk. Once again, that's Monday through Friday. On Tuesdays, you can follow me on Heroes. On Thursdays, you can find me on Jedi Council. On Saturdays and Sundays, you can find me on Mailbag. On Thursdays, you'll be able to find me on The Blacklist. And Tuesdays, you'll be able to find me right here. Talking about The Flash, which is so awesome. And thank you guys so much for joining us. I want to thank the people behind the scenes. We got Jonathan, Dennis, and Wendy over there. Guys, we have lots of other recap shows here on the Collider Network. You're going to be able to follow us with Empire, The Blacklist, as I mentioned, Flash, Arrow, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Supergirl. Make sure you come back, subscribe to this YouTube channel, and keep up to date on all of our videos. We cannot wait for you to join us as part of it all. So that'll do it for us, guys, for the Flash Recap Show. Thanks so much for joining us, and until next time, bye-bye.